I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of these coaching segues. So that's fantastic. We usually call them Coach's Corner. This might just be a whole damn Coach's Corner episode
100%.
today. All good. But no, kind of speaking towards that. So okay, so you played at Duke, and then you came out, and then ended up going to Wake to coach there. And kind of what got you into kind of going down your coaching journey? What was that like for you?
I was actually telling a player yesterday. So we lost at NCAA's 2006. I don't know what it was, middle of May, whatever. Joey and I lost in the quarterfinals of NCAA's, and 2 days later, I was coaching at Smith Stearns.
Wow.
And then I coached there for 2 years. I went to Wake women for 2 years, and I went to Duke men for 10 years. I knew I wanted to be a coach probably my junior year in college.
Okay.
I had no interest in trying to pursue doubles as a career, zero. Which is why I didn't play a single point after college. It just it didn't seem intriguing to me. I have no idea if I would have been. A lot of my contemporaries have done very, very well. I'd like to think I could have done just as well as them. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have, but it doesn't.
And you played with Rajiv a good bit.
Rajiv, Santiago Gonzalez, like all these guys that we were playing ITFs together that are all been top 10, top 15. Obviously, Rajiv's done fantastically well. I have no idea. Maybe I would have been great. Maybe I wouldn't have. But the idea of pursuing that did not get me excited. But to me, the idea of being like, what if I can take a player that I think, I don't know, maybe they have average skills, whatever, and what if I can help them turn into a beast or like really like that puzzle seemed more interesting. It's easy to tell myself to go work hard. That's easy. It's very tough to plant an idea in someone else's brain and get them to buy into it. And that little psychological puzzle was always interesting. So I knew I wanted to pursue that. And I basically looked at it like, hey, I'm going to go to Smith Stearns for 2 years. I'm not a coach. I'm just a good player. I'm going to learn something about technique. I'm going to make mistakes here. It's low level.
Learn the coaching.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get into Wake Forest. I'm going to get the first thing I can to get into college coaching, which is the time what I wanted to ultimately be. Hey, I got into Wake. That was great. And then Duke opened up, which obviously since I played there, I'm going to try to make that move if I can.
Yep, sure.
But yeah, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I think it's an absolute blast. There's nothing better than actually having a relationship and getting someone better. And so, yeah, that was kind of like my goal probably from age 20 on. And I've been doing it basically every day and since I graduated.
Who was your coach at Wake?
Chad Skrupka.
Gotcha.
So he's at San Jose State now. Actually, funny story. My second year there, I was at clay courts and Ramsey, the position opened, his assistant position opened.
Right.
And so I texted Chad and said, hey, like, I mean, I'm happy here, but like, it's my alma mater. Like it's Duke. Sure. Like, of course I'm going to like apply for that. I want to give you a heads up. Like I'd like to do that. And I don't hear from him like all day, which is very weird. He's always on. And he calls me back. He calls me back that night and he goes, hey, listen, I thought about it. And if you go on that interview, you're fired.
Right.
Wow. And I go, oh, I'm like, really? And he goes, no, I'm just messing with you. But he goes, I am resigning. And I'm like, is that true? He's like, yeah, my wife got a job in San Jose, so I'm moving. So
no way.
Yeah, so he's just totally messing with me. He's like, yeah, look, the people at Wake will keep you on as an assistant for a year if you don't get the job. But he's like, yeah, I actually am retired. Like I'm done here.
No
and I was
way.
like, oh my God.
Cool
for that second after he told me he was going to fire me, in that 5 seconds, I was like, oh my God, like, are you serious? Yeah, I mean, yeah. But he was totally just. Yeah, he was just.
That actually wouldn't surprise me. I've heard some stories about how like cutthroat it is from like the assistants to the head coaches at these D1 programs. So like when you said that, I was like, damn, it is pretty bad.
I'm sure there are some people who probably have done that seriously, but he was a great guy and he was totally supportive of it. And then obviously it worked out. But yeah, it was pretty funny and scary at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's as you know, we worked with. Brett Ross and who played at Wake, and so I want to say wasn't his coach the old Vandy coach? God,
at Wake.
At Wake,
his coach was at Wake. It was Zinn.
Jeff Zinn. That's what I was thinking. And wasn't Zinn the coach at Vandy years ago? I'm pretty sure because I was David Drew's old coach back in the day.
Yeah.
And David and Drew played at Wake. I'm pretty. I played at Vandy.
Vandy.
Anyway, my point is, I thought it was Zinn. Anyway, but that's a funny story. That's a great story actually. That's that kind of come out full circle. So you were, I think when I saw you were already coaching at Duke, and so in that couple-year interim, right? I probably hadn't seen you, and I thought you just went from one to the next, and you kept going. I didn't realize there was that couple of those little small pivots there, but that's good stuff.
So that time at Duke, right? So you were there for 2010 to 2020, something like
Yep,
that 10-year
exactly,
10-year
10 years.
run. Were you mentioned that, college coaching was kind of always like I said, at that point in your life was the goal from the coaching aspect. Did you have opportunities to go take your own team at some point, or were you trying to maybe wait Ramsey out for a bit? Like, what was your, because 10 years as an assistant coach that's a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a head coach, so I interviewed at University of San Diego. That was 2015, and I was in the final two, and I pulled out. I don't know if I would have gotten the job, and Ryan Keckley's been there since then. He's done an amazing job. So
Either way,
they got the right guy.
Right.
I interviewed at Miami, and I was down to the final three, and then I interviewed at Nebraska, maybe like 2018, 2019. It's very competitive. It's very tough. Yeah. And like you talk about, like, playing up a level and seeing what you're bad at. I can tell you one thing I suck at is networking. So a big part of becoming a head coach is, hey, I network in my own university. I know these ADs who know other ADs, and I play the game. I always just thought, hey, if I'm a really good assistant coach and I know the game of tennis, that will get me somewhere, which, there's the AD at Nebraska has no idea if I'm a good tennis coach.
Right.
No idea. Like,
he assumes you're a good tennis coach.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. Like, I know nothing about the game of tennis. Like, I don't know if you can coach it, but like, can you recruit? Do I know someone who knows you that speaks highly of? Do I think you're going to be responsible? Do I think X, Y, and Z? And so that was a part that I purposely just had no interest in, and I didn't really realize how important it was.
Yeah.
And kind of by the end of my college career, like I was ready to take a break and do something different. But yeah, that was a skill that I sorely lacked. And if there is a college coach listening, like, that is definitely the number one skill for becoming a head coach is like, you got to know the ADs at your school. They're going to become ADs at other schools and associate ADs. They're going to know people.
Right.
And that is far more important than being like, oh, you got that guy better when he came to Duke. Like, no one cares. No one knows.
Yeah. That's true. Billy Pate would always tell me that. Billy Pate's at, I think he's at Princeton now, but he was at Bama for several years, and obviously he was assistant at, I want to say, at Notre Dame after he left here, Alvin. He was the head coach at Georgia Perimeter years ago.
Oh wow, that's a nice run.
Jordan, not John, Jordan Isner, and you remember my main man, Jonathan, another Jonathan Ignovia, were his top two studs back in the day, and Billy would always say he was an assistant AD or part of there. I guess there was an assistant AD program that he was part of. He said, you got to play that assistant AD card. He says, because that's how the other ADs get to know who you are. And he says, Torrey, I got to tell you, that's the back channel, and getting here and there. And Bobby Reynolds, who we used to work with here in Atlanta, said the same thing. He says, that or get your team to win a championship. He says, and then they'll take you either way. He says, you can be at the best coach in the world. No one knows. When you win one, they assume that magic glitter falls off of you because you won a championship. He says, you could have done nothing. You could have done everything. He says, it doesn't matter. If you win, you win. And I always laughed at how I'm thinking of the right word, how weird and the choosing of the coaches. And that's not to say that those coaches who got the job aren't deserving, but the criteria and the process is very, very, I'm going to say dicey at best. And sometimes it's just timing. It's just,
it's not like, timing. I mean, if I look at another sport like football, like, you're probably hiring the offensive coordinator from another team. So you're like, wow, their offense was really good. I have no idea if he's a good leader, if he's a good recruiter.
And you're measuring numbers, you're measuring, there's metrics that you're usually, and probably a lot of it, right? Where in tennis, it's a lot more on the who you know. I've seen that, and again, I've had 4 or 5 guys that I've worked with that have coached top D1. So they've all said a very similar story. So that's, I have a quick question for you, John, before you go with that. College tennis. And I think this is it's a catch-all, but it's a big catch-all. What does it get right, and what's it missing? I know there are 2 big questions. What does college tennis get right? And I say that in relation to other college sports. Obviously, there's a segue in there for tennis specifically. And then what's it missing? And I'm interested in both from a guy that's played it, coached it. Obviously, was a very, very good player.
Yeah,
you have a very good perspective, and I'll let you man it on it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really good question
because I'm curious your response.
I have a clarification question for you.
Sure.
When you say what does it get right, does it in terms of what? In terms of growing the sport, in terms of what's good for the collegiate athlete, or just broadly, just whatever I think?
I'm going to say broadly what you think. You can touch on all 3. Growing the game to me that's not college's purpose per se, right?
Yep.
Certainly, it's a link further along the chain.
Yep.
It's under the umbrella of most really good juniors will pursue it as a goal. So it serves a destination purpose of, if not anything else. What does it get right? What does it, and then as an athlete, college athlete, now we've all been college athletes, what does it get right in terms of, most people don't realize the work that goes in, right? And it's not as glamorous. It's not all the TV stuff you see on ESPN, which thank God for ESPN to even shine a light on the college athlete. By definition, we get tennis players get a little bit of the afterglow. But what does college tennis get right? And then maybe my bigger question, what's it missing to perhaps take it to a larger field? I played at Morehouse in Georgia State. Alvin was at Catawba. Good programs, good schools. Not necessarily Duke. And in terms of the not just ACC, but also the level of Duke basketball, everyone knows about. It's one of the, especially the times you were there, was one of the best programs in the country in basketball. So you're that athlete getting the extra cream, right, from how well the other programs did. What's it missing, college tennis, to catch up to a high level sport like a basketball without all the X's and O's of this is what they do and this they can do this with revenue? But what does it get right? What's it missing? And then maybe a segue into maybe its impact in pro tennis and such. Those are, because I feel like there's a couple of things that I don't think college tennis still gets the credit it deserves in terms of being the impact on pro tennis. But what is it getting right to achieve that? What could it do better to do more? And in general, what's it get right? What's it missing?
Okay, I'm going to start with what it's missing or what it's getting wrong. So
Yep.
one for me is on the coaching side. One for me is like, why would it not be more popular?
Sure.
When I watch a collegiate match on a stream right now,
Yep.
a coach has to say something on every freaking point. There's a coach walking across the court, giving a high five, saying something. I'm like, hey, they just went their whole junior career without you in their ear. And they're about to go play pro without you in their ear. You're telling me this is the one special stage in life from age 19 to 22 where you got to hold my hand on every freaking point.
Right.
Quit over coaching. Go sit on the bench and clap. You coached them before the match. If something needs to change,
They should be prepared by now. 100%.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of hand holding and a lot of, I went through that a little bit as a college coach where you're like, well, if you're just standing there, what are you doing? So then I felt like I had to say something.
Right.
But I think you're doing the athlete a disservice. Like, hey, it's a 5-4, 15-love in the third set. I got to walk out there and tell you where to serve. Like, it really isn't that complicated. Like, go with your best serve and I hope it works out.